All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is part two of the Unit 2 Day 2 notes. I wanted to break this up into a couple videos so it's not so long for you. All right, so the goal here is, again, another equation where we have, it's not in the general form, because if you remember the general form was x squared plus y squared plus ax plus by plus c equals 0. And we don't need to get it in that form, but what we do want to do is make sure that all the x's and the y's are on the left side and all the numbers, so we'll say left side, of the equation, so like of the equal sign. And on the numbers here are on the right side. So we're gonna do some moving here. Let me clear this stuff off. All right, so for starters, anytime you want to move a term to the other side of the equation, change the sign. So I'm going to leave the x squared minus 10x alone. Those are good. I'm going to move the 2 over here, because remember we want to add the 2. And I'm going to take the negative y squared and the negative 6y, and I'm going to add them to the left side. There's no like terms to combine them to, so it's basically just going to be plus y squared plus 6y. And here's kind of our dividing line. Hopefully that helps. Those will cancel out. These will cancel out. We have a positive 2 on the right, and we're just going to make sure these are written in the correct order. So I'm going to put the x's first. And then the y second. And then my 2 is on the right side of the equation. So I'll put my equal sign and then 2. So step 1 is to rearrange. Step 2 is to complete the square. Remember, b over 2 squared. The b value is the negative 10 and the positive 6. So we're gonna make some space for them. So I'm gonna say x squared minus 10x plus some number I don't know, plus y squared plus 6y plus another number equals 2 plus a number plus a number. That number is going to be coming from this little formula, b over 2 squared. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, or negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Repeat them over here. Next step is to factor. So you want to think about the numbers that go into 25 and add to 10. And really, 25 is just 5 times 5. But careful with your signs. Because you had a negative here, these are actually going to be negatives. Because you had a positive here, these are going to be positives. The y's will be positive. There's no negatives in there. So it's going to be y plus 3 and y plus 3. 2 plus 25 is 27. 27 plus 9 is, what is that? Is that 36? And we don't like to write it twice. So we're going to write this once. We're going to say x minus 5 squared. Step 3 is to factor. So x minus 5 squared, y plus 3 squared equals 36. And there is your standard form. The center is going to be +5, -3. Change the signs, opposite. The radius is going to be the square root of 36. And there you have it. This would be a great example for you to try on your own. So I would encourage you to pause it and see if you can try it. You know, go through the process of completing the square and getting the center and the radius, like we did in the previous examples. So I'll give you a second to pause it. All right, so let's do a little rearranging. I have my x and y here. I got a 12x. I have the number on the right side, so I don't really have much moving to do. I don't have to move a number over. I just want to get this x over here with this one. So we'll say x squared plus 12x and plus y squared equals 13. Now, a couple things. First, you don't have a y. There is no y. So that's really kind of 0y, which means that the y squared is good in itself. You don't need a parentheses because remember y squared is the same thing as y minus 0 squared. So adding 0 or subtracting 0 from anything doesn't change the value. So I really only have to concern myself with x. What is that term I got to add? Y squared's fine. So you only got to come up with that one number. So 12 divided by 2, you square that. That's going to be 6 squared, 36. Add it over here. Only add one number, so we don't have another blank because we only have one here. What multiplies to 36 and adds to 12? Well, think about it. It's a square root of this number. It's always going to be the square root of that number, so it's going to be 6. You're probably going to get tired of writing this twice. So if you know it's going to be written twice, you can skip this step and just go straight to x plus 6 squared. These are going to add to 49. I don't have a number for y, so we're gonna get our equation. That's not our answer though, because this question actually asks what is the center and what is the radius. So the center is going to be -6 opposite of what's inside. So -6, and there's nothing here, so that's 0. -6, 0. Radius is the square root of that number. There's your answer. All right, this would be a good time to pause the video and try this one on your own. We want to get the center and the radius. Hopefully you tried the video, the example. I'm gonna work this out probably a little quicker than usual because we want to kind of get in the habit of just checking these answers. So let's talk about the x squares and the 4x's. We're gonna keep those on the same. We're gonna put those next to each other, but we're gonna write the x's first. Y squared and -4y. We want to move the 1. Move the -1, so it's going to go over here and become +1. So we got our rearranged. Next step is to complete the square. So here's my framework for it. You notice how I have 2 blanks because I do have a number times y. So 4 divided by 2 squared is 2 squared, which is 4. Same number. Negative 4 divided by 2 squared, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, guys, because a negative squared is a positive. So that's going to be 4. Let me do that in red. We've got to stand out a little bit. So we got 4 here, we got 4 there. And what goes on the left must go on the right. All right, what multiplies to 4 and adds to 4? Well, it's 2 and 2. Now, normally in the past I wrote it twice, but we know it's going to end up being something squared. So I'm going to go ahead and write x plus 2 squared. This one's pretty similar, except it's negative. So it's going to be y minus 2 squared. So whatever sign is there, we'll go in the parentheses. And then 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 8, 5 plus 4, which is 9. So there's your equation. Your center is the opposite. So negative 2, positive 2. And your radius is the square root of 9. So your radius is going to be 3. All right, let's go to the next example. All right, we got some big numbers. We got some coefficients in front of x squared and y squared. So that's some new information. Excuse me. The process is not going to change, but what we want to do on this problem before we do anything is we want to divide this up. So I'm going to first just take a second to divide every term. You can divide 0 by 4. It doesn't change the value. It's 0 by 4. And get rid of that coefficient. Now 51 divided by 4 is going to give you a decimal. We'll just write the decimal for that. Those will cancel out. Now 16 divided by 4 is 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. And of course I'm keeping whatever sign was there, so that's negative and negative. 51 divided by 4 is 12.75. So we're going to rearrange. I'm going to put my x's together, put my y's together, bring this over. It's positive, so it'll become negative 12.75. So we'll say x squared minus 4x, y squared minus 6y equals negative 12.75. All right, leave your blanks. So x squared minus 4x plus 4 divided by 2 squared, 2 squared, 4. Y squared minus 6y plus 6 divided by 2 squared. Don't worry about the negatives. When you're adding them, it's going to be positive. That's going to be 3 squared, which is 9. So what must get added to the left gets added to the right. So 4 there, 4 there, 9 there, 9 there. Balance that equation out. That's the whole point of algebra, is balancing, solving for x and solving equations and balancing them out. All right, let's do this all in one operation. So we want to make sure that we factor. So this is going to be x multiplies to 4, adds to negative 4. It's going to be x minus 2. Be 2 of those, so we'll say squared. Multiplies to 9, adds to negative 6. That's minus 3. And negative 12.75 plus 4 and 9, those make 13. So if I do negative 12.75 plus 13, that should be 0.25. You can always double check those decimals in your calculator. And there's the answer. So 0.25. Let me rewrite that. There you go. And so there's your standard form. It's a really small radius, isn't it? You know, when you think about the square root of 0.25, it's going to be a decimal. But that's okay. Well, we got where we needed to go. Got rid of those coefficients. All right, guys, you try this one. Pause the video. Give it a shot. Ask me for help, and then you can unpause it and you can watch the work. Okay. Hopefully you've gotten a chance to try this one out. Let's dig in. We want to divide everything here by the number in front. Get rid of that coefficient. So divide by 2, everything gets divided by 2. That's going to cancel out those numbers. That's going to be 3, negative 12, and negative 6. So we want to get the radius in the center of this one. So x squared plus y squared plus 3x minus 12y equals negative 6. And this is just unit inches, so you know that's I'm not going to bother writing that now. Oh, in standard form. Never mind. So let's rearrange. X squared plus 3x. Move the 3x over with the x squared. I'm going to leave a little blank here. Y squared minus 12y. Negative 6. We'll go ahead and add those numbers on. Uh, 3 divided by 2 squared. Well, 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So if you don't know what 1.5 squared is, you can go in here. 2.25. 6 divided by 2 squared, or excuse me, 12 divided by 2 squared, negative 12 divided by 2 squared is negative 6 squared. That's 36. So those are your two magic numbers, 2.25 and 36. All right, finally factoring and simplifying. Well, this is a tough one with that decimal. But let's see if we can do it. This 2.25, what multiplies to itself and adds to 3? Well, we just had it, guys. It was 1.5. All right, 1.5 plus 1.5 is 3. 1.5 times 1.5 is 2.25. And since it was all positive, it's going to be positive for that one. This one's a little easier because what number multiplies to 36 by itself and adds to negative 12? Well, it's going to be minus 6. All right, and these numbers add, let's take a second to add those. So negative 6 plus 2.25 plus 36. And you're going to get 32.25. Now that's here's here's the equation, but it also wants the radius in the center. So the center is going to be the opposite of what's in the parentheses. So your h is negative 1.5, your k is positive 6, your radius is the square root of that number, 32.25. You might think, oh, that doesn't have a square root, but 5.678, we'll just say about 5.7, approximately. That's what those little squigglies mean. All right, example number 5. This is a long lesson, so thanks for sticking with me. You really need to understand these examples. So in this case, we want to get the general equation, but we don't have anything to work with. So we're going to start with the center and the radius. And what we're going to do is we're going to write standard first. And the first step for that is to basically write it in the parentheses. So x minus 2 squared, y minus 4 squared, because your center is 2, 4, which is going to go right there, equals 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. So that's the standard form. The general form is actually squaring them out. So we'll write the squares twice. And then 9, of course, will just stay 9. Multiply these together. So x squared minus 2x minus another 2x. And then negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Y squared minus 4y. One more minus 4y. And then those multiply to 16 equals 9. Combining all the like terms, you're going to get x squared minus 4x the 4 and the 16 will add to 20. I'm going to save that for the end. This is going to be y squared minus 8y. Like I said, these 4 and 16 add to 20. Don't forget the equals 9. And our last step is to arrange it. Remember, it has to look like this. So we want to put the squares first, the non-squares second, and then that constant number third, and get everything equal to 0, which means I want to subtract the 9, and I want to rearrange these. So it's going to be x squared plus y squared minus 4x minus 8y and then 20 minus 9 is going to be 11. General form. All right, guys. The last example on this was a very long lesson, so I really appreciate you sticking with me and persevering and taking these notes, because there's just a lot to take in for this one. I want you to try this one, pause the video. Anytime you see that your turn, just click pause and give it a shot. You can't learn math unless you try some on your own. So this is your example to try. hopefully you've gotten a chance to try it. Unpause it and let's work through it. So the center is 7, 0. The radius is 5. So rewriting this is going to be x minus 7 squared. Minus 0, y minus 0 is just y squared. So I'm not going to worry about that. This is going to be 5 squared. We always square the radius. We square the binomial. Here it's just y, so I'm just going to leave that as y squared. We're gonna write that twice. And then 5 squared is 25. Finally, we're going to multiply these together. Well, I shouldn't say finally, but the next step is to multiply these together. So this is going to give you x squared minus 7x minus another 7x. So that'll be 14. It's going to get doubled every time you do that. And the last one will be 49. You got your y squared here. And of course your 25. Those are going to stay there. And so combining like terms, you're going to have x squared minus 14x plus 49 plus y squared equals 25. And we want to get everything to this side and rearrange. So I'm going to do that all kind of in one operation. 49 minus 25 is going to be 24. So we'll say x squared. We're going to move this over here. So plus y squared. And then we have a minus 14x. And because there wasn't anything with the y squared, there is no something y. So your next number will be 49 minus 25, which is 24. And then we set that equal to 0. Those cancel out. And that's it, guys. So hopefully that was helpful for you. And feel free to rewatch and go back and try to get more information from this as you try the examples on your own. Thanks.